I want to say hello.
What's up, man? What's up, man? Look, you know, Susie walk. Y'all should see Susie walk in the gym. Susie walk in the gym.
What's up, man?
Ed Meyers.
Mr. Ed Meyers. How you doing, sir? Huh? Mr. Documentary. How you doing?
Yes, that's what I'm doing.
You know, first and foremost, I was just happy to see our guys come out here. Even though we got a lot of guys from here, they blocked out the crowd, they executed the game plan, and they were just focused on getting the W. That's the most important thing. They didn't play for themselves, they played for the team. And as you see, we was able to walk out here with a win.
I've been shooting this boy since I was 12 years old. What's the
Glass Manor.
The Glass Manor. And I was
Who was you with at that time?
yeah.
At the time, I think you was doing something with the Knicks, something like that.
Yeah.
Nike and.
But I knew this boy was going to make it. Pay attention.
Yeah, you're right, though. You're right.
Your mama didn't come in there.
I'm on here. See it? I know where she's still.
He's on his way, and we're going to be proud of him.
Yeah, he goes, which scout report you motherfuckers on? Which scout report on you?
Yeah, he did.
Like that, right?
The sense of pride that came with that man, the sense of security that I felt with him when I talked with him, he believed in me.
And a lot of it had to do with the relationships that Coach Meyers had established, and he was helping me, try to get going as a prep school coach. Coach Meyers was somebody that really helped me along the way, at referring a lot of kids, specifically from the DMV area.
I talk to him almost every other day, about basketball, recruiting, how to run a program. I mean, he's my ear.
He's touched a lot of lives, a lot of basketball lives going forward. He was the first guy to start the NBA camp. I've met a whole lot of great people. He's in the Hall of Fame. He should be one of them dudes should be in the Hall of Fame, to be honest.
Ed Meyers is one of the first out of DC, a guru of recruiting and basketball knowledge around playgrounds, then high school, then colleges. And I mean, he was one of the first out of the area that really could identify basketball talent.
Coach Meyers is a pioneer in college basketball, a coach that, I think was way ahead of his time. He transcended relationships in a way that all of us today as coaches try to do with our players. But he's someone, from a coaching standpoint, who is made a huge impact on a lot of players, coaches, and families throughout his long-time coaching career.
Ed Meyers, he's called him a basketball museum, pretty much. Overall, the most knowledgeable gentleman to know a lot about basketball. I learned so much from Ed Meyers. I mean, he's taught me the game, ins and outs, the mental aspects of the game, in the business, and most definitely the business side of the game, pretty much. He's been a jewel in my life, pretty much. That's who Ed Meyers is, a genuine, great guy.
For me, I think he's like one of the gatekeepers, when you talk about the area and, definitely in my time, and I'm a witness or an example of like, he could get things done.
For me personally, super gatekeeper, man, helped me out a lot of stuff in life. So stuff like that, I hold Ed high, man. You can't tell me nothing about Ed. Bad.
He's the man that gave me my opportunity to be who I am today, and helped me establish who I am. Great young man, great man, who allowed me to get out of Lexington, Kentucky. He gave me that opportunity to go to the East Coast and live out my dream.
He started off with a close loss at Georgetown University, then reeled off 7 wins in a row. UMass Lowell also started off well with a big win against San Francisco, played Ohio State tough, then suffered a bad spell, but they were able to come back despite an injury to Noel, who takes a shot inside the paint, and Alan Blunt for 3, one of the 2 Blunt brothers on the squad, and Idle Rock pulls it down.
One a junior, one a freshman. Idle Rock right to the basket. That's right.
Penetration.
He's so tough to guard because he's so strong.
A big weekend last weekend against Vermont with 38 points in 2 games, or 2 weekends ago, I should say. 4-2 UMBC. Daly, they double down on him. Up top for Connor Withers for 3. And Connor Withers, an inside and outside game for the Riverhawks. Only coach that UMass Lowell has known in their short D1 history.
In D1, and you mentioned their 2 wins, being their first D1 postseason wins. They've only been allowed to play postseason in D1 since 2018. There's Dmitry Spazievich's signature hook shot.
Rolls one on a pass from Withers. UMBC with the basketball. Darnell Rogers at the point. By now you know his story. Shortest player in the NCAA. Gives it off to Owens. And LJ Owens for 3. A transfer from Wagner has checked in. Here's Rogers all the way inside the paint. And he gets the roll.
Give him any kind of space and he will finish. The Expos, Red Sox, and Orioles.
That is an athletic family. Here's Withers now for 3. That's his second 3-pointer. Kennedy, what a find he's been for Ryan Odom. A junior college transfer from Labette Community College.
That's a high percentage shot.
Yeah, it is.
As I said, when you're 0 for 2 starting out the game, a dunk is not a bad way to break the scheme. Excuse me.
Nice little floater in the corner from Owens. Meanwhile, that last foul was on Alan Blunt. That's his second.
Where she catches her husband talking to him at 2:30 in the morning.
Yeah, that
was the funny one. Yeah. Good drive.
Horvath again with a drive.
And that's what makes Horvath so tough. That become, well,
you know,
sort
it's
of
not
like
only Mahomes.
Well, sort of like Flo from Progressive.
Progressive, yeah.
Who is an America East graduate.
From Binghamton University. Conference. Right now, UMBC 5 for 5 from the free throw line.
And that has in the past, as you know, Gary, been an Achilles heel. Depends who you get to the free throw line a lot. Nice move again.
Great work by Bryce Daly inside for his first 2.
Fair regular season because of COVID cancellations. Same as Vermont and Hartford playing in the second semifinal today. He called bank, I think.
Did he call it?
Yeah, he did. I heard him. Another turnover. Wow.
Let's count them up here. That's number 6 now for UMass Lowell. We're only 10 minutes into the game.
And good defense there on the inbounds. Great catch by Kennedy. And a great pass by Kennedy.
How about that?
That was Keandre Kennedy at his best. He made a great catch on the inbounds pass and then took right off for the basket and set up Akin.
Keandre Kennedy again, 6th man of the year. And last week, 2 weeks ago against Vermont, and here is Withers again for UMass Lowell. 2-pointer this time. The last week off the bench, Withers. There's Blunt, the freshman. Counted in a foul.
Nice move there by Blunt, the younger brother, the younger Blunt brother.
That's Anthony Blunt, 6'2", from Bowie, Maryland. Take a look.
Go, gets a nice ball screen there. Makes a nice move on Johnson and lays it up and in, gets fouled.
So both of the Blunt brothers, Anthony and Alan, both went to Gonzaga High School in D.C.
Yep.
But Anthony transferred, went to St. Vincent Pallotti in Laurel, Maryland, just outside Baltimore, and shined in his senior year and eventually landed the scholarship. He drew some interest from Princeton, but decided to go to UMass Lowell.
1945 in Washington, D.C. Initially lived on L Street, right off North Capitol. But in his, I'm gonna say 8 to 20 years old, he was raised in they call it Stronghold, which is right off North Capitol also, but further up near Michigan Avenue. Had a lot of guys who were interested in sports. They had a lot of good athletic teams around that neighborhood. And they mostly played at Edgewood as far as basketball and baseball. My dad's first coaching experience was at 13. He had an undefeated 12 and under team. He had actually played on the 13 under team. The 12 and under team coach quit. He took it over. And every summer when we watched the Little League, he always says, "Oh man, my team would beat them." In which all those guys have actually called him at certain times and kind of say the same thing. Because he always says, "Yeah, man, I had like a 6'3" pitcher that could throw a curve that none of these young kids could have hit." And from there, high school, went to McKinley. Wanted to play both sports. He wanted to play football and basketball. They weren't really allowing him to play football, or at least to be the starting quarterback. So he decided to transfer. Went to Chamberlain. Graduated in 1964. One of the only times that Chamberlain actually made it to the playoffs in basketball. And football, he was a very good player, quarterback and kicker. Got invited to, I guess it was like for all Mets, they got invited to, I guess it was Griffin Stadium then, RFK. And that's when he fell out of love with the Redskins, because as he would say, he heard something in the background, a story about Sonny Jurgensen talking about Bobby Mitchell. But anyway, that's something else. So that was that. And then from there, went to Shaw University. Oh, so let me back up. Actually played football, basketball, and baseball. Was a late round pick of the Pittsburgh Pirates. And that was the same year that Willie Stargell was drafted. And decided not to go. Because he really wanted to play basketball. So he just decided to go to Shaw University, a HBCU, and play there 1 year before leaving and going to Norfolk State, and was going to play there, and things didn't work out. So eventually came back and just finished up his degree at AU. And from there, that's when he went to Pride University. Pride Incorporated, which Marion Barry ran, and he helped and had teams there, a couple teams there before moving on to Mackin.
Shaw University. I made some friends, but the gym was about this big. I'm telling you. All the people were from they went to Howard or Shaw. And when I went to Shaw.
So you transferred to, so the racism down there was just too much?
Oh man. My buddy smacked the boy, Joe Shooter, smacked the boy on the way to the airport, and when he came back, there was big cars. He got locked up, but his mother had money, so. And then we went to Norfolk, and I was baseball with Norfolk. Ain't nobody P.E.B. Courtney, Badger, Bobby Daniels, that was that man. And then I stayed baseball 1 year. Then I came here, got a job, and got my AU. I got a scholarship for AU, and that's when I finished. And I was I was probably a better baseball player than basketball. But I held my own, I guess. Then I was coaching League 12 and under, and we won the championship, and that's when I started getting interested in coaching.
Nice block there, yes, in Uncasville, Connecticut.
Didn't even know that was a place until this year.
I don't think it became a place when they opened the resort there.
Three-pointer in the corner, nice rotation. Noel Thomas checks out. Alan Blunt back in with 2 fouls. Bunyasith with a drive.
I think, yeah. Mike Kitts with that call, had the angle.
On Noel.
And that's critical with just under 5 minutes left to go in the half.
Rogers and Idle Rock have 2 apiece for UMBC. Bunyasith.
Boy, there's a moment where next few minutes critical for Mass Lowell because they really don't want UMBC to spread this lead out anymore with Noel on the bench.
Both of the Blunt brothers are in.
Nice move there.
All the way to the basket and good for Brooks until this year. There's Bunyasith up top for Owens. He'll pop. LJ Owens now with 2 3-pointers today.
And that one was well guarded too, but didn't seem to bother him.
There's a 2-pointer. Nice rotation from Thomas.
A good answer though right there. They needed a basket badly. He missed that.
There's Daly.
Wide open there.
Conference leader in assists, and he gets another one here. The basket to Withers.
That's a big bucket. So we're here down 10. They feel pretty good.
Kennedy creating.
Great tip by Spazajevich.
With 2 seconds to go, and that's a big bucket for UMBC.
That was a big play by Spazajevich.
In 1974, he was the freshman coach. And he came with probably one of the best players they've ever had, if not the best player they ever had, Anthony JoJo Hunter. And so my dad took over the freshman team. JoJo went and played varsity. They were, I think they lost 2 games the first year he was there. They lost 1 or 2 games the second year he was there, and the third year they lost 1 game to St. John's, but won the whole league. He had players like Kenny Payne, Kevin Black, Chucky Jackson. All eventually became all Mets. Kevin Black and Kenny Payne stayed at Mac and became all Met. Chucky Jackson went to Dunbar and became all Met. So all that, if all those kids had stayed, and with my dad staying there, they would have had great teams for the next 3 or 4 years. Like Coach Butch, what's Butch's last name? Yeah, like Coach Butch McAdams said, when he came and helped Steve Hocker after my dad had left, he was like, man, we don't need no talent. We got it all right here. So they were always loaded with talent. The varsity usually came up a little short in the years my dad was there to DeMatha. But they would usually have 3 or 4 guys that were D1 players, and they have guys on the bench who had D1 talent that made go D2 because they just hadn't been seen. But when they came down to making a decision after, so my dad's last year there, the head coach of the varsity decided to move to Deep Creek, Virginia. And my dad applied for the job. He didn't get it. They gave him some bogus reason, but there's some other reasons that, that kind of weighed in on it?
It was a teaching job. I was a teacher and splash basketball coach. The kids that I knew came through here and graduated and went on to college. That's my fondest memory. And a guy named JoJo Hunter was graduating and going to college at the University of Maryland. Bob Knight came to the house and said, "You coming to Indiana and
Play the one.
You gonna play the one." And right in my front room, Bob Knight said, "You coming to Indiana?" But Lefty worked his magic, and he got 6 or 7 players from Baltimore and DC, and they were stacked. You couldn't coach them players because you couldn't substitute. But yeah, JoJo, I'm the one that screwed up because I said, "You ain't going to the NBA." Why not? Because I didn't know. I wanted him to go to college. And he was the first in the high. No, he's.
It's called Metro Conference.
Yeah.
WCAC used to be called Metro Conference.
And they was sending mail and all kinds of paraphernalia to Mackin, and they wanted it. And
The Sixers?
yeah. And I said, "Man, you can't handle that." The Sixers go 2 years and they still want you. You go. And, 2 years came to pass and he wasn't ready. So he transferred to Colorado, and he was burning. He was setting them on fire. And that league was a heck of a league. Colorado,
Kansas, Oklahoma.
Big 12.
Yeah, the Big 12.
yeah. But hey, JoJo was an enigma. He didn't get born and tell things that happened to him, but he was an enigma. And the best get sidetracks. And but one-on-one, the only one that can beat him is Austin Carr and Agent Downey. Agent, they used to go in the morning and then come out to 8 o'clock and one-on-one. Agent Downey and JoJo full court.
8 in the morning, 8 at night.
Yep.
That work.
Yeah.
Real work.
Yeah. And when he was going with Agent was showing him how to be a pro and this, that, and the other. It was the best thing for him. But he wasn't ready. But boy, he said, "Man, Agent treat me like I'm a kid." Yeah, you were a kid. He was 3 what? 3 Agent weighed 3 what?
Like 220. Not 300.
I mean, but
You talking about weight?
no. His
How much older he was?
yeah, and Adrian Adrian used to punish JoJo full court, not half court or two other people. Full court. They had play, and Adrian used to punish him. I got to get in better shape. That was always JoJo. I got to get in better shape because Adrian punishing me. Well, don't feel bad. He punished
A lot of people.
Yeah. And that's JoJo is doing well now, and we hope he continues.
I knew one of his best friends was Wil Doc Robinson, who lived in my neighborhood, was in Northeast Trinidad. So everybody knew Doc Robinson, and I knew Doc. Him and Doc was friends pretty much. So I knew about him, and I was and just watching him. Knew about the Langley teams because he had some great Langley teams. I knew he had some, and he was also a great coach at Mackin High School as well. So I remember him. Remember his name. His name was spread out amongst the area for sure.
So from there, he went and coached at Langley Junior High School. And Langley had won like 3 games the year before. He brought in a point guard, and they went 28-0. Won the city championship, and eventually had 2 guards who would eventually become all Mets too. One went to Potomac High School in Oxon Hill, and the other one went to McKinley in DC. But they both were all Mets their senior year and went on to play D1 ball. From that job, winning the junior high championship, he was basically referred by Bill Butler and Mr. Wyatt down from number 2 Boys Club. They kept telling John, this is who you need to hire. You just got rid of an assistant. You need to hire this guy. He's very well known in the city. He knows all the players. He can get you some players, and he knows what he's doing X and O wise. So then that's what happened there. Went from junior high school to college. And then the rest. Yeah. Oh, and the first year he was there, he brought in Mike Hancock, who eventually started for like 3 or 4 years. He was there. So, like a 6'7" wing player.
Deflection there, forcing them to reset their offense.
Noel over Spasojevic.
Yeah, when he makes a shot, he makes it look easy, doesn't he?
It's pretty.
That's the word. It is pretty.
9 points for Noel. 2 more here for Idle Rock.
Is it pretty?
He picked it up right off the first 2 buckets from Noel and from Idle Rock, just like in the first half.
Withers just matched his career high for threes.
4 threes now for Withers. It is a 9-point game.
And found the right open man.
I think the biggest thing here's Owens with a leaner inside the lane, gets the roll.
That is a Withers finally misses, but he was well guarded.
It's a good look for Idle Rock.
It's a good rebound by Horvath with good defense inside.
Reavers controlling the boards.
And they don't need to rush anything here.
Rogers.
Wide open, so why not shoot it? It's only his 2nd basket of the game, the first 2 shots of the half, and they've cooled off since then.
Thomas back in the game for UMass Lowell. Nice feed underneath.
Yeah,
working hard in the basket, good for Blunt.
Good play by Blunt there to gather, shot fake, and create the space to get an open shot.
Blunt, good solid combo guard, only a freshman. He and Max Brooks both made the all-conference freshman team. And there's Idle Rock doing what he does.
And none off of turnovers for Mass Lowell. That's a huge gap.
I mean, that's the game right there.
Yeah, that'll go in.
That will.
You cannot leave him open.
That is a career high now. 5 3-pointers in 9 attempts for Connor Withers.
Good thing he caught the bus on Thursday to come down here. Otherwise, Mass Lowell would be in real trouble.
Thomas with a little step back 2.
Ooh, tough shot there.
Rolls in. keep in mind, again, if UMBC wins this game, they will host the American East Conference Final a week from today.
It'll be the 4th straight time. If Vermont wins, and there's a big shot by Kennedy, apparently his arm was okay. But I would have tried to pass it back out, kill a little bit more clock rather than take that shot. Easy second guess, of course.
Straight away for Withers.
He misses one, and it doesn't affect his confidence at all, and now the lead is again back to 10.
Played for the Pirates.
He's an MVP for the Pirates.
And played for the Cardinals, too, didn't he?
Yes, he did. And there's the three that Idle Rock hadn't made today. And that's a big one because it extends that lead back to 13. Idea.
Yep, fair enough. The lead is 11 for the home team, UMBC.
Second game starts at 4. I talked to John Gallagher, the Hartford coach, this week, and he said to me, nice move. That's not what he said to me, but that was a nice move. And that, remember, Vermont and Hartford were supposed to play the championship game a year ago when COVID shut the season down. And
so once my dad left to go to after Georgetown, spent the year at Bowie State, helping his friend Taff Hickman, who had just gotten a job. Left Bowie State to go to UDC with Wil Jones and Doc Robinson. Spent 2 years there, and then went back to Georgetown in '82 when they lost to Carolina in the final game of the Final Four.
Georgetown, UDC, the best talent I ever collected. That's why the basketball is dropped in DC, because it's no playground. John and I would identify players, and John and I would say, was he playground tough? And that's how we identify players. Oh, I'm recruiting him because he's playground tough. That's how John Thompson recruited players. He loved the playground. He got Baby playground, Craig Shelton, Anthony Jones playground, and he loved the playground, and he loved the boys club. UDC won the national championship.
Yeah, y'all lost to North Carolina.
The year we lost North Carolina, because I left and we went back to Georgetown, and Will got on TV and said, my big man won the championship. And I said, yeah, well. And the following year, or 2 years, we won the championship, Georgetown. But this town was crowded for big man. And no better than Earl Jones and Pat Jones. I went to an AAU game. Pat Ewing and Earl Jones were versing each other for the national championship of AAU. Earl Jones. I'd never seen a man go by the basket, hold on to the glass, and dunk the ball with the overhand. I never seen that. And Earl Jones would do that.
So as legend goes, they were playing a pickup game. They used to go down McDonough. And he did it there, and he embarrassed Pat. And Big John yelled out, hey, this ain't no damn UDC. Don't be grabbing on the backboards. And so I guess he was trying to protect Pat. So, all the players were like, oh, he's just trying to protect Pat. And he ain't really mad at you. And so, but Earl Jones was like unbelievably talented. Like the move that Bird used to do where he used to throw it over the head and the dude turn around and he shoot it. Earl used to do that also. And they used to do where he get a rebound and he fake it behind their backs and then the dude look back and he lay the ball up. And you talking about a 6'11", 7-footer doing, stuff like that in 1980, 81, 82. So he was really before his time, but he never really liked basketball. He was the kind of guy that they pushed him into basketball because he was tall, and then he was good at it. So, but he never really was loved the game. That's why he didn't work. He didn't work when he got to the NBA. He was just like, this is a job now. This ain't really what I like to do.
He got sick. He had prostate something, and he couldn't play for a year or two. But he got his retirement, and he's happy now. He's working on cars. He loved cars. Pat Ewing, what can you say about him? He's all world. He did what no other foreigner did. He won the Final Four. He won the Olympics. And Wil Jones had nothing. Pat Ewing had nothing. I love Pat because he's a comedian and he knows how to have fun. And he had a daughter and a son. And now he's in coaching for real. But Pat and Earl was two special players. And in the 100-mile radius around DC had
14-mile radius. DC only 14 miles, about 14 miles. It's a very small town. So you're talking about having two of the greatest big men in college basketball at the same time.
Why should he? They was Division II with all Division I players, and John was Division I, and he had won the national championship. Why should he? Michael Britt should have been on the Bullets, but he wouldn't listen. And he was Skywalker who would for Pippen, and he would bounce the ball through your legs, go around your body, and dunk it before you can turn around. Michael Britt.
Didn't he do that against Rob Sampson?
Oh yeah,
in the state playoff game.
Yeah, he dunked it. Bounced it through Ralph Sampson's leg, went around, got it, and dunked it, and the crowd went. They beat Ralph Sampson. Yeah. I don't know how we got him, but we got lucky. Because really, his coach was a Kappa or whatever, and Wil hit it off. And that was somebody sent us Michael Britt. Every time he go up Baltimore, I got to dust these off because I don't want him to never say that, oh, I did this to Wil Jones, I did this to Wil Jones. They could never say that about Wil. Because with a opportunity he played, Summer League, I met him on the Summer League court. They said, Shorty, you got the whole night over Callum Miller. That's where I met Wil, and he dusted me off. Wil he loved basketball. The only thing he loved more than basketball is money. And he played the game of basketball. When he went out for the Olympics, he got drafted for the Olympic trials in 58 or whatever he did. And a lot of people said he should have made the Olympics. Who made the Olympics?
Oh, that was 60 with Jerry West and
Big
Oscar Robertson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
What does Oscar Robertson call Wil Jones?
A friend of mine called me and said, man, Oscar Robertson loved Wil. And Oscar Robertson said, well, Wil, that's foul, my motherfucker. But he could play. And they had crap games at night. Who won all the money? Wil Jones. And Oscar said, I'm not playing with you anymore. But he respected Wil's name. In the plane crash where his boy coaches down there, they got a plaque with Wil's name on it for Division II. And you walk in the door, Wil Jones was here. That's all they said. You walk in the door, Wil Jones was here in the gym.
Was that Evansville?
Evansville.
Yeah, so Jerry Sloan played at Evansville and was a D2 All-American. Wil had 54 against them in the tournament. But one of his best stories is he said, because he used to go to Baltimore all the time and play, that whenever they got somebody really good, they would call to measure them against him. He said he hadn't played for like 4 years. This was early 70s. They called him, come play. And it was to play against Skip Wise. He said, now I'm 35, 36 years old, and I'm going to play against an 18-year-old. He said, but I went. I said, well, how'd you do? He said, I had an all right night. I had about 40. I said, come on, man.
Yeah. Kwame Evans had an uncle, and he's the only person I ever seen he got the best of Wil. He said, man, that boy could play, and I couldn't handle it. Kwame Evans, he went to a Division I Kent State, and I didn't know Kwame. I knew story about Kwame Evans, but I didn't know Kwame Evans was that dude with Wil. He the only one he said, oh, he got the best of me, especially when I got old. Baltimore had much as DC and sometimes more, but they couldn't shut down the mouth, which was Wil Jones, because he gonna talk in his sleep. No, Wil Jones, he won the Division II, and then he transferred from Norfolk State, and but I didn't go with him. But he had a tough time, but he got paid, so that's all he was. John, after John lost in the Olympics, he was, I don't know, he didn't do well about basketball. And but John was a very good coach.
Disciplinary? Okay.
Yeah.
It seems like a lot of the youth don't like to be disciplined or held accountable.
Yeah, but they will not play for John. Now, Will, you can do anything you want.
As long as you get 30.
Yeah, you got to get 30. I don't know who had the better team, but when you get the Division II championship and Division III, Division 1. I had fun.
Wanted to get back in basketball after taking a year off, and reached out to Coach Thompson. Coach Thompson said he knew a guy who needed an assistant, but it was at Tennessee State University in Nashville. But that goes there. The first year, he brings one player with him from the city, Wes Milam, who went to Spingarn. They had maybe a 12 and 13 year, or they were like 1 or 2 games under 500. The next year, he brings in 5 recruits. One Brent Milstead, who was a parade All-American. Darryl Robinson, they both went to Potomac. Sonny Martin, who went to Coolidge, who ended up being a starter. 6'9" kid from New York, I forget his name, and then a 6'7" kid who eventually coached Chris Middleton. I forget his name too, but the last kid he brought in was Anthony Mason, late recruit. Someone had given him a call about him, and he went to see him and really liked him. Because Mason was a late starter anyway. He didn't even play organized basketball or school basketball until he was in 11th grade. But he already had the grades. He had already qualified on the NCAA rules as far as academically. Brought him in, and just meeting Anthony Mason, he had probably more confidence in himself than the other kids that had been playing for years and years and years. Because even during the break between summer and regular school, he didn't go home. He actually stayed with us, so we used to go out on the playground and play, and he would always say, yeah, when I'm in the NBA, this is gonna happen, this is gonna happen. And I'm thinking, man, you ain't even played 1 year of college ball yet. What you talking about when you in the NBA? He's like, trust me, man, I'm gonna be in the NBA. So, just very confident and believed in himself. So, and that's how it came to be how he became to recruit Mason.
Coach Myers, actually, I played for Coach Myers at Boston University. He was an assistant coach there at the time. And, it was at that time that I really started building a relationship with him. I gravitated towards his personality. As all of us who have played or coached the game, especially at the Division I level, sometimes there's a lot of uptight, people, stressed out people. And, Coach Myers was one of those guys who had everything in perspective, and you could really relate to him in a lot of different ways. I think very underrated coach. Again, I think, he was a guy that really understood the game. I think for all coaches in college, we all have to kind of stay in our lane, especially as assistant coaches. I mean, your job is to assist the head coach in any which way you need to do. And I think Coach did that in every way. Sometimes, you get the reputation of being maybe a recruiter, and, a lot of people maybe mistake that for not being someone that, really can coach the game and understands the game. And Coach Myers could do both. He had the rare ability not only to recruit, but he had a tremendous basketball mind, and he had a way of teaching that again, I think as we talked about earlier, in today's, game, the lessons that he taught me in terms of how to build relationships and how to teach players, especially in a positive way, I directly relate that to Coach Eddie Meyers. He learned over the years. I think it was part of it. He would talk. I would ask him a lot of advice, especially when I was getting into prep school and trying to recruit my own team. And his advice was, look, I learned at a young age a lot of things, in the recruiting process, and you learn from your mistakes. I think he's one of those guys that could see a player's ability. And not just the analytical side. I think he could see past somebody's statistics and see what what they would bring to their specific team, and then see past that as it relates to how it would, translate to our level in college. So he had a rare ability to see past what players were actually doing statistically and analytically at that time. And that's a tremendous gift he had.
He was always holding back. He was doubting his ability. I said, man, you got to play and play hard. And when we went to the NITs, he made the NIT team, and he was quite a skill level player. He grew up with Rod Strickland. And
I think it's Kyrie's godfather, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So they've been friends for a long time. But Dedrick can score the ball.
Yeah.
He can really put the ball in the basket.
Like his son.
Yeah. He just didn't have the handle that his son has.
I went to GW, and we had by the second year, we had a NCAA team. And we lost to Michigan, but we got the jewel back because they was, I don't know what they had on them, but
so originally they lost in the Sweet 16 to him. So because of what happened, with the money with Chris Webber that came out later, all that is erased, and so he's saying basically he's really in the Elite Eight. But tell the story of when you went to Africa to recruit Yinka Dare. How they asked you for your watch.
I'm gonna go to. I've got all my shots over here, and I'm going to look for a big man. I went to Nigeria. They took my watch. They called me Brown Man. But boy, I saw the biggest basketball player in a long time. And he had weight, he had everything. He could just rough around the edges, but he had everything you want in a big man. And he was the right age. He came over here, went to prep school, and enrolled in GW. And it's history what he did. He got a $13 million contract.
Yeah, he went to the end of the lottery. I think he was the 14th pick or 13th pick.
Yeah,
for the Nets. Yeah.
But he had been sick. He had a heart attack with GW, and he said, "Coach, I got to go because I don't know my heart." He had a heart attack on the floor, one practice, and he said, "I got to go," and he went and got the draft, and he died 3 years later. start. But he lived his dream. He said, "Can you get me in the NBA?" Well, me and Coach Jarvis got him in the NBA. So he didn't quit school. He was sick hard ever because GW said he had a heart attack. And he was living in New Jersey and had a heart attack in his house. And that soured me on basketball because that boy, he lived in a hut in Africa, in Nigeria. But he lived his dream, and his wife got money, and he sent money back to his father and mother. So he was happy. He lived his dream.
I think it was going into maybe my 11th grade year. He had started recruiting me, and I didn't know anything about him, and I didn't know anything about George Washington. So every time that my high school coach kept saying that, I want you to meet Ed Meyers and George Washington, I never would at first. So, but finally when I met him, it was like, in a sense, a good match because I loved everything about him. Really just when he first started talking to me, it was more so introducing himself, and then really still didn't know who he was, but also just really jumped into my style of play, what he liked about my game. It really wasn't even about like recruiting me for GW at that time. He just really started talking to me about the things I could improve on, the things that I did well, and then what could possibly be my future. No, when I say this with the utmost respect, but I went to GW for Ed Meyers. My relationship with him started from the first day I met him, and the sense of how can I put it? The sense of pride that came with that man, the sense of security that I felt with him when I talked with him. He believed in me. So my reasoning for coming was really going to GW because of him. Okay. I had gotten a little glimpse of Coach Meyers before I came to GW, and he came to watch me play in one of my high school games after I had signed already. And it was one of them games that we was playing like the team wasn't that good. And I'm talking about after the game, I'm talking about he let me have it. I'm talking about he cursed me up and down. And I just kind of looked at him because short man compared to me. I'm 6'5". I know Coach Meyers probably all of 5'5", 5'6". But he cussed me out and let me have it. But that was the only time then. But when I got to GW, his expectations were even higher of me. I couldn't take any days off. I had to be in the gym every day. I had to make sure I was going to class. So he really started homing in on the things that he had talked to me about, just holding me accountable. Well, when I first got here, Coach Meyers was on the road a lot, as that was his thing, recruiting. So he wouldn't be at practice all the time. So he would be in and out. So he didn't always know what was going on. So when I came in my freshman year, I really struggled a lot just for the transition from high school to college. Now having to compete every possession, not being the man, being on a team full of guys that can do just as much as I do. So that was a little different. So after my freshman year, I don't think I was seeing eye to eye with Jarvis a little bit. Maybe I was just being a freshman, being spoiled. So I had started making some calls to some of my high school coaches, some people that I knew. So I guess word that got out that I had made calls, and I'm talking about it wasn't even, this is before social media, before everything. I think it was probably that night before I called my coach. I'm talking about that next morning I was walking in the gym, and he said, "Hey," and excuse my language when I say this, and you can bleep it out. He said, "Bring your motherfucking ass in my office." So when I walked in the office, and I was like, "What, coach? What's going on?" He said, "How in the hell you gonna come up here and you gonna disrespect me, and and you gonna try to leave, and you ain't gonna tell me like I don't know everybody. Everybody knows me. They gonna tell me everything you do." And I'm talking about he just laid into me. He said, I told your mama that you was going to graduate here, and that's exactly what you going to do. He said, I don't want to hear about none of that mess that you talking about you going to transfer. He just laid into me. He said, and you're going to start getting in here and working out, and the rest was history. And I'm talking about, but and I'm not doing it any justice, but I was so many, excuse my language, I was so many motherfuckers that day. So, and I thought it was my name when I left out of there. So, but the best thing about that is it was all with love. It was all with care. So it wasn't a point that what he said to me, I got the message of what he was trying to say, and I'm forever thankful that I stayed. The good thing about that year is Coach Myers' first recruit, Alvin Pearsall, and then Marcus Ford. They were our seniors that year. All a part of Coach Myers' recruiting tree. And we came in together. So except for Al was there a year before us, but we came in and had such a bond and such a brotherhood that even when we was 8 and 9 and we was going through their struggles, we just kind of bonded together. I remember Alvin, one game we was just looking bad. I think when we first went on the first victory we got, and he just pulled us in the huddle and just said, man, we better than this. We just got to start pulling together. Forget what's going on around us. Let's go. And I think that all became because Ed recruited us all. And we just had that bond coming through the door. Yes, Yinka. He was just our guy. That was the rule that we had within us. Everything went through him. And he knew that, and I think he appreciated that. We knew he was our guy. So every time we come down the floor, he had the first touch, the first looks. And then after that, either they double team, he would kick out. But personality-wise, you talking about one of an all-American guy. Came to practice every day, worked hard. For somebody who had so much in his future that he was going to do, he was a down-to-earth guy. Like I say, worked hard, great guy. Kwame Evans. We'll go to Kwame next. Kwame, you got to kind of know Slim. We call him Slim. Kwame came in, never really, very humble guy. Never really came in, never was a rah-rah kind of guy, but he just killed you with his skill set. He was probably one of the best scorers I had seen during my time, the way he could put it in the hole. He could put it in the hole fast. Like I say, he came in on the thin side, but also a great personality. Came in and worked hard. And I think he should have had a bigger future. And I don't know kind of what happened after I left or whatever. We've talked a little bit about it, and I know he played overseas, but I thought he was a guaranteed NBA guy. Let me see. Alvin Pearsall, probably one of my best floor generals I've ever had. He made me realize who I was my junior year, their senior year, when we made that run that we were talking about earlier. I remember him pulling me to the side and said, man, look here, man, everything goes through you. We're going to Yinka first, but after that, it's you. And, that was probably my best year, my junior year. So having a point guard that understand how to get other people involved and how to instill the confidence while being on the floor, that was a great thing. Let me see, who else is there? Marcus Ford. Marcus was probably our all-around best player as far as he could play the most positions. And that's when I say best player, he could play the most positions. But it really helped us out a lot because he came in as a point guard. So him and Alvin, their senior year, I'm talking about, he helped Al so much, and he could do it all. So he was our 4-man, our 3-man, our 2-man, whatever it needed to be, but also a great leader. Von Jones, you kind of know Von. Von came in with the DeMatha label on him coming in, so he came in ready to play. Came in eager and thought he should be on the floor coming through the door, but who could blame him? He came from a successful program. Competed hard. Loved playing with him. I laugh at him sometimes because, he had that old Magic Johnson feel to his game, and we used to just kind of laugh at him. We used to just kind of pick with him a lot, but talking about a great leader as well. Who else is there? Let me see. We got so many of them. Who else do you want to hear about?
Dirk Searles. I'm looking at it. Was your leading scorer that season when y'all went deep in the tournament?
Yes. Now, Dirk. One thing about Dirk, I'll tell you, I've never seen a more athletic young man than Dirk at that size. I've seen Dirk do some amazing things on that basketball floor, and highly intelligent. I think Dirk, like right now, is an engineer for a big company in Evansville. So not only could he play on that court, he was highly intelligent in the classroom. Gifted as far as that basketball could go, and I thought he should have played in the league as well. I know he made to the final cut of the Chicago when Jordan was retiring, and I think injury kind of prevented him from going further. But still had a great career in Russia and some other places.
And the last one, Sonny Holland.
Yeah, Sony. The good thing about Sony was he was there before we got there, so he kind of got the experience when they were losing on the other end of it, and then got the experience on the road of coming up and being on the team that was probably one of the most successful in GW history. A great bucket. You could always go get a bucket from him because when you needed it. Leader off the floor. Really helped us do a lot of things off the floor just by transitioning in as from high school to college. So that was good. Great leader, and helped us during that time because we could look at him because he understood the ins and outs about playing and being there and being that leader. I just think we came in to just understanding that we could play. That's what NCAA is, just a wide open time, and we have been playing well. And plus, when you got a big center like Yinka, when you got something in the middle, a presence in the middle, and you have a good supporting cast, so you give yourself a chance just on that alone. And I think we had came in, and all of us coming from nice, successful high school careers, coming from winning, we just had to learn how to pull it together, and that's what helped us get through that game. Well, that was the one thing about that team, during that time, we had so many good players that could play multiple positions. So it was easy for us to probably play 10 guys a night because as long as we just stay tight on the defensive end, anybody in any given time can go out and get you 15, 20 points a night. The good thing about that is we kept people on their toes. So Southern just couldn't key on one person or one guy to take us away. If they keyed on Yinka, we could go to Sony in the post. We also had Bill Brigham around that way and then post a little bit. But then we also had Dirk them on the wings, Kwame on the wings, me on the wings, and you had guys that could really fill it up. So we just was a well-talented team and that they could do a lot. So people had to really be on their P's and Q's when they played us. You know how Coach Myers is. The message is they put their shoes, you put your shoes on like they put theirs on. So just toss the ball up and go compete. And for me personally, I had grown up playing against Weber and Jalen them when they played AAU ball with the Super Friends. So for me, it was just like, and I don't think I've ever beaten Weber. I think he even beat me in the AAU when he was coming up. I think on the last second shot, they beat us. So for me, it was more of, let me get a chance to, redeem myself from them younger days. So, and then also a lot of those kids from the Michigan area, with Marcus and all those guys, knowing those guys too. So everybody had something at stake at that game. So we came in ready to compete, thinking we could win. I just think down the stretch, we just made some, when you got those 50-50 balls you got to get, I don't think we made the plays down the stretch to pull it out, even though we had, our opportunities. Without talking to Coach Myers, I don't know if he even really tried to be a head coach. I don't know. We've never even talked about that. But I thought recruiting was his craft. Some people are head coaches. Some people are recruiters. Some people are practice coaches. I just think he had a gift for seeking talent, putting it together. And I just thought that was what his main thing was. So by him being a head coach, I know he probably would do well because he knows the X and O's just like anybody else. He knows how to scout talent and everything. But I just think he loved being on the road, finding talent and giving kids chances.
At that time, that's probably more of a Coach Myers question, but And back then, I guess you listen to things like Coach Thompson said in the past. Now it's like it was so hard. They didn't give him a chance. They used him for recruiting, basically. That was it. And I guess his time never came. I don't know if he ever got offered. We never talked about him ever being offered in the head coaching jobs. It never came up, to be honest. So I'm pretty sure he had aspirations to do that. They all do, but I never knew if he had any firm offers to be a head coach. But if he had been a head coach, trust me, his teams would have been Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final Four competitive. I have no question, no doubt about that, because he built 2 national championship teams at UDC and in Georgetown. So, yeah, I wouldn't doubt that he wouldn't have been able to do his own thing.
Close to 3 seconds, except the rule basically doesn't exist anymore. Nice move to get open, to get the shot off.
Kennedy tried to keep it alive with the tip. Daly comes away. Transition now for UMass Lowell, and they convert.
UMB
Lead for UMBC.
First time in a while, and there's another bad pass. If they score here, Ryan Odom's going to call timeout.
They do. Daly all the way. UMBC now in transition. Owens has been hot, and he continues.
That's a huge moment in this game right there. If Noel pull up at the three-point line and shoot, even though he was open.
Well, yeah, it's a good call. Maybe they want.
Now he's open. Maybe he thought
straight
this
away.
was a better shot.
Wow.
Yep. Withers knew what he was doing.
First for Blunt with 4 and Salif Bouger with 3. Bouger's only seen 6 minutes. Here's Horvath.
Oh, what a block that was.
And that was Brooks again.
That was Brooks again. You're right. Impressive freshman.
Noel. Speaking of impressive.
He gets to the basket. He's really tough to stop unless you foul him.
We got a 4-point game. Noel with 15. Rogers.
Big shot.
As far as cool as a cucumber, what do you think?
Are cucumbers that cool?
I think so.
Okay. I mean, so that's a tough shot, and he made it.
Wow.
At the
Huge
buzzer.
for Noel.
That's why he's a star. The whole game, he was well guarded on that shot, and the buzzer was about to go off, and he swished it. Nice move there by Spazievich.
And good patience to set up his man. Giant step back for Noel.
Yeah.
That was a huge step.
And there's Withers again.
8 3-pointers for Connor Withers.
And it's a 3-point basketball game.
1 possession, 4:07 left.
Just got stripped, and that's what Ryan Odom talked about. They're so good at taking the ball away from him.
Guess what, John?
Tie ball game.
Tie ball game on the 3 by Khalil Thomas.
That time, and his shot came up short, and they end up getting the ball.
Rogers,
Oh,
big
boy.
3-pointer.
Okay, he doesn't literally have ice water in his veins, but I think Ryan Odom is glad he's on his team.
5 in a row for Rogers. Noel, nice backdoor here.
Boy, that kid's a nice-looking player. Must have been well coached in high school.
Max Brooks again with a huge second half for Mass Lowell. A lot of people right now watching don't even know who Bob Cousy is.
That's amazing.
Noel,
Wow.
strong. 1-point game.
He's so good in
Conference tournament game.
gotten used to that, haven't we?
We really have been spoiled.
And that was the 10th foul on Mass Lowell. So UMBC will shoot 2 the rest of the way. They put him on the line for 1-1.
Got a strong free throw shooter at the line here in Idle Rock. 15 points at the line.
Also, if you could pick one guy to be on the line at the end of the game for UMBC, who would you pick? I think I'd pick Idle Rock.
I'd pick this guy.
Idle Rock or Rogers? Yep, 2 for 2.
2 for 2 for Idle Rock. Here's Brooks, huge second half for UMass Lowell. Withers.
Oh, God, he's open again.
9 3-pointers.
You leave him
ties the record.
Any room, it's automatic.
Will inbound the basketball. We're talking about number 5, Connor Withers, tying a career mark, or I should say a single game mark, in America East Conference playoff history with 9 3-pointers today.
Yeah, Akin out on him there, not giving him any space, but he almost had enough space there, but didn't shoot it. So, yeah, I think they're going to go to Noel eventually.
Here it is.
Oh, good defense. They called it a foul? Yes, they did. They called it a foul. I think they
won. Got that roll.
Little shooter's roll there, but he is a shooter.
74% free throw shooter coming in.
There's one Mass Lowell fan in the building here, and he's right in front of us. That's the clapping you hear. That's automatic once you make
now,
it first.
UMass Lowell with a 2-point lead with 40.9 left.
They're going to want to touch for Idle Rock. Yep. Here comes a double team.
Takes Noel.
He got fouled. He got fouled. And it'll be a 2-shot foul. Uh-oh. Now, again, regardless of whether this shot goes in or not, UMBC is going to, they'll try to steal the inbounds. If they don't, they got to foul. And they have to foul quickly because they're still in the 1-and-1.
It's a 1-point game with 22 seconds left.
Who do you foul is the question. They're trying to get it to Noel. They don't. I foul right away. Foul right away. They foul Withers. Now, as great as he's been from three, Withers hasn't shot a free throw. Rule is you got to shoot from inside the key, but yep, cool as can be.
28 for Withers. And we kept saying when the lead was still double digits, 16, 13, he was still making threes. He was keeping them in the game.
He kept him in the game, and then Noel played very well down the stretch too. And he missed one. Ooh, that looked like a foul. Now they shooting. It's going to be either Idle Rock or Rogers. Nope, it's going to be Owens.
Too strong. Offensive rebound.
Blocked.
Who else? Brooks. 2 seconds. Owens blocked. UMass Lowell has done it again.
So in '94, after my dad had, I think his second heart attack, decided to retire from coaching and started a scouting service called Game Plan Sports Inc. Scouting Service. So along with the scouting service, he was doing like some small events, little tournaments.
First met Ed Meyers. Actually, I first met Ed Meyers at one of his camps he used to had at Bowie State. I might have been going to the 8th grade at Bowie State, and it's my first time seeing him pretty much. And then I lost track of him around that time pretty much. But then just I started from Mid-Atlantic Sports News, and he was looking for a scout. I mean, this scout was Game Plan Sports, and one thing led to another, and we were supposed to meet at Nordstrom's in Pentagon City. And of course, Pentagon City is big, so I didn't know where we was meeting. So I was down in the food court. He was upstairs in Nordstrom. So I'm like, oh, I guess we didn't meet. So I went back to work. So finally, he called me back and said, where were you? I was like, I was in the food court. He says, I was in Nordstrom. And I can't say what he said, but everybody know what that means pretty much. So eventually we did meet up at Nordstrom's, and we talked for a long time. We realized it was a connection there. And the rest of they say is history pretty much, and started working for him for the scouting service, and he basically is the guy that pretty much brought me into the national scene. Oh boy, he just a matter of have to turn the report and have him read over it, because I knew he knew everything just by looking at the kid. He just watching the kid, the mannerism, what to look for, I mean how to go about watching a kid and just get some things out there normal people wouldn't get, pretty much. Just watching, and him just teaching me how to evaluate talent, basically. I mean, just to listen to him, and when I would write, he would tell me, say this or say that, to make it so people know, they can feel like they are there as they read your reports, pretty much. And just watching it, and all the kids, and I would say, well, how would you see that? And something that didn't show up as the things that, of course, being for 25 years, he could see a player right for your system. And he always say everybody can't play in everybody's system. And that's one thing that always stood in my mind when I was evaluating. You look and say, okay, that kid can't play this everywhere. And that's why I'm going to evaluations. Like everybody will have, well, he's a 5-star, he's a 4-star, but he's a 5-star. But if we go to the wrong system, he could be a 3 or 4-star now. I mean, so it's just a matter of every kid is not picked for every program, pretty much. I mean, it's just a matter of you got to make sure they fit your scheme character-wise and athletic-wise. I learned that from him pretty much. Like I said, again, I don't think I would ever been a Nike without him. I will say that. Hal White came to him and wanted him to do something in the South, and they had some ideas, and I think it was Biloxi, Mississippi, or somewhere in Augusta, somewhere in the South, basically. And him and along with Clint Bryant, another native Washingtonian, he's at Augusta State. He should be the AD at Augusta State, pretty much. And they rode around, and they basically, on their way to the airport, found Peace Jam, Riverview Activity Center. And that was the way going back to the airport. Figuring, okay, we got to find another spot, and that's found. And then it was called a Peace Basket, because it was called a Peace Basket the first year, pretty much, and that was my intro to Nike, pretty much. And doing that, and he allowed me to. I mean, he found once he found the spot, he was like, oh, okay. And I can't say the words that he said to me, but it was all in love. And he said, okay, figure this out now. You design it, figure it out. We got to entice the kids, got teams to come to our event, and I go to Vegas. So that was my first time. If somebody had the confidence in me to let me do that, to allow me to do that, and that's why I'm so ever grateful for him for doing that, for allowing me to design a format to today still stands. I mean, they still use the same format that we use, and then we started the 16 Under event, I think 10 years later, pretty much. So that was another one of his ideas, and because we had back then it was a big time Adidas and Nike battle, and the 17 U's teams was coming to Augusta, and it wasn't nothing for the 16s. So Adidas would perch all the young kids, the 16 Under kids, and get them to come to their events. So that's when the first thing started. Let's do a 16 Under event. And that's when how the Sweet 16 started, pretty much. So it's just, everything went to less or another. Then I met Hal White, Don Crenshaw. These are all George Raveling, Coach Raveling, who I still talk to today. Met them, all them guys, and learned from them. And then the rest to me is history. I've been, like I said, I was a scout for almost 25 years for the Northeast region, pretty much. And now I'm a consultant for Nike for the New York branch. Because I run the Pro City Kennel League, which Coach Myers had, and when he retired, he pretty much, they allowed me to run it after he left, pretty much, after he didn't do it anymore. So again, like I said, he's the reason why I'm with Nike, basically. There's no doubt about that.
And now that event has become the biggest event in the summer. Average people just want to go down there just to see, to see the event. And it started in 1996. I'm gonna say there were many players. Tyson Chandler, Kwame Brown played in it. Caron Butler, Jared Jeffries, Chris Thomas went to Notre Dame. The Derrick Roses, everybody who was top 20, top 50 in the country. I'm gonna say at least half of those guys played in that event each summer. So the competition was stiff, and then they would have an overseas team also. The Chinese team came one time, and also the German team with Nowitzki. Did he play in it? Yeah. So real stiff competition. One of the best performances I've seen was with Caron Butler. His team didn't go far, but he didn't have less than 38 points, in 4 games, because they didn't make it out of pool play. But in those 4 games, he put on the show. And the kid that we actually used to train, Chris Wright, when he played in 06 against Derrick Rose and that Mean Streets team, he came back and he even said, he's like, yeah, I ain't have a good game against Rose. He's like, but that guy's a future Hall of Famer. He's like, I've never seen anything like that. not here or wherever else I've played. So that team and that backcourt of him and Eric Gordon were unbelievable. And then the event just continued to grow every year. All the players wanted to play in it, even if they were like Adidas players. They used to try to get with a Nike team before they could go and play in the Peace Jam. So that's how that came about.
I think what separated Coach was he was able to relate to the kids, because he was those kids, because he came from the DC area, and he called the strong arm. That's in Edgewood, in part of Northeast, called the strong arm. So he knew how to rate the kids pretty much. He had a good vibe. I mean, kids respected him, and plus he can talk the BS to them too. He can get down and dirty with them, and some kids can relate to that, and they respond to that. And they know because kids know they can't bull drive you. They knew they couldn't bull drive Coach, because he was always one step ahead of the game, always. That's what made him so good as a coach and a recruiter. Pretty much, he knew how to relate to the kids. To be honest, the Peace Jam was a to my understanding, and he might be able to confirm this, but it was a one-time show to see if we can do it or not. Because in another part of history, I mean, we had the event, we didn't even sell a package. We gave the package to the coaches. And that was that first Peace Basket, which was called the Peace Basket then. That was Dirk Nowitzki. He came over and Turkaloo. That was the foreign team before you had the Hoop Summit. So pretty much, and they came down and played in that. And we didn't give the coaches, we didn't charge the coaches. We just gave them the packet. Because again, it was just, we was seeing how it was gonna go. Because that was the first time having the event in one central location, 4 courts in basketball from 9 to 12, and then from 6 to 9. So you had a break in the middle. And that event might have been the first event that we fed the coaches hospitality one. I'm pretty sure it might have been the first tournament we were doing that. But now, you go every time we go now, coaches look for the hospitality one now. And I'm thinking it probably started the Peace Jam. Let me say it probably started the Peace Jam. Another one, I mean, him being the first of doing something and creating something pretty much.
Grow it more and more until we had there were so many teams, Nike sponsors, so many teams. And we had kids from here, everywhere. Tennessee, Georgia, they had a mob. And always New York. Everybody had getting enough of New York. And New York won it twice. And then I gave it to Van Johnson, and he was from 16 to 25. They take it for granted now. It ain't no granted. The boy from what's the boy from? Played for the Nets. He's been the best player come out of Washington in a long time.
Kevin Durant?
Kevin Durant. The best player that ever come out of Washington. Yep, Kevin Durant. When Wil saw Kevin Durant, she said, ain't nobody better. And I second. Elgin Baylor was a different area. That Elgin Bella grew up in Southwest. They was chastising his father. He went to Phelps first, and then he went to Stringham, and then he went out west. They one of them schools, and Elgin Bella was great, but Kevin Durant is great because he do it all. Rebound, passes.
At 6'11".
Yeah. And maybe 7 feet.
For me personally, when I got out of college, I went into, teaching and education and coaching, and I started off at prep schools. And Coach Meyers was somebody that really helped me along the way at referring a lot of kids, specifically from the DMV area, guys like Victor Page, Randy Mills, Orlando Ranson. I had a lot of kids from that area, and a lot of it had to do with the relationships that Coach Meyers had established, and he was helping me, try to get going as a prep school coach.
He's got that special, gift that he can identify a guy that's not, like a lot of people now go off for rankings and numbers. He don't need rankings and numbers. His eye is special. I mean, he started out with some of the guys, Kenny Payne, Hawkeye Daniels, Michael Brick, Greg Carlson, Earl Jones, Yinka Dare. I mean, you never heard of guys like that, Yinka Dare, Kwame Evans, Shanti Rogers. I mean, Patrick Ewing, Sleepy Floyd. He recognized guys before there was a number on guys. He knew talent, just because he had that gift to find it and know that they would be successful. I mean, just if you know him, just his wit and, his knowledge, he puts a lot of time into his craft. I knew that when I watched him back then when I started out coaching at Bowie and UDC. I just, the stories when I worked with Wil Jones, all he talked about was Ed Meyers and Doc Robinson. And I tell you, those were two of the first. They were special. Will and Ed were special. I mean, those nightly conversations with them that I got to listen to for free that people would have paid for now. It was special. It was a special time. I mean, think about it. The man coached the national championship at UDC, coached at Georgetown, 1982 national championship. I mean, he's been through it. I mean, he's grinded. He started Mackin City Champions, went to college, shit. Think about it. Guy discovered Anthony Mason before people even knew who Anthony Mason was. Think about that. So, I mean, he just, everything about him, the way he went about it, little guy, unassuming, just went about his business. To this day, I mean, I talk to him almost every other day, about basketball, recruiting, how to run a program. I mean, he's my ear.
So, my dad was the first director of the NBPA Top 100 camp, and they used to have it in Washington, D.C. at American University. And again, most of all the top players in the country would come and compete. They play, and then a lot of the NBA guys would just try and give them information on the process of being an NBA player. Again, had all the top guys. Kobe came to it. Guys like, again, Tyson Chandler, Kwame Brown, David Lee. I think of some other guys. Sebastian Telfair was there. And another story, when Kobe came that year, his work ethic again, because he's gonna bug people to get back in the gym. At dinner and lunch breaks, he wanted to stay in the gym and kept asking him, Dad, hey, I don't need to eat. I need to stay in the gym, get some shots up. And my dad said, look, you're not staying in the gym by yourself. We don't know what might happen. You're gonna go down here and eat. So needless to say, I'm sure that didn't go over well with Kobe Bryant because he wanted to stay in the gym and work. and I think my dad ran that for like 5-6 years, and then he let that go, and then just totally focused on the Peace Jam. But real great experience, especially seeing all the players that were coming there.
2001, our head basketball coach Steve Matthews wanted us to go to this game plan basketball camp. So he forces all of us to go. Like, we rebelled. I don't know what we was thinking as a team. It was about 6 of us. We was like, we're not going. Like, rebelled. Like, telling our high school coach we're not going somewhere. So he drives us to the Bowie City Gym. This is like right when it first opened, like groundbreaking. We get to the camp. We sit in the car. We don't even go in. We don't know who Ed Meyers is. We don't know where we're going. We don't know nothing. But we just totally rebelled and was like, we're not going in. We sat in our coach's car. I don't know what we was thinking. We just sat there and was like, nah, we're not going in this basketball camp. So I let Bird start off something, but that was our first like meeting of Ed Meyers. For me anyway, that I remember truthfully, was that moment right there. We was like, we're not going to his basketball camp. Yeah, right. So that's how it really first started for me.
Yeah, I had like 2 separate first meetings with Ed. Actually like 3 separate first meetings with Ed. I met Ed when I was a kid. He actually came up and he was a guest speaker at the Glass Manor basketball camp, like at the Glass Manor Rec Center. This was when I was like maybe 8, 9 years old. And like he did some drills and stuff, and like I remember he needed a volunteer, and I wasn't the type, like I wasn't gonna jump out there, so I didn't. But the staff people, I guess, probably knew that I could do some of the stuff that he was trying to do, and they picked me as a volunteer. So that was like my first time meeting Ed. But the second time was as we got older, when we had to go to his camp, and our high school coach was like, yeah, you guys are going. At this point, like I said, we didn't know what Game Plan Sports was. We didn't know who Ed Meyers was. He was just like, y'all going to this camp in Bowie. And I think most of that came from, like, our head coach wasn't, like, we were very busy in the summer, like, when it came to him. Like, we was in 2-3 leagues. We, was doing team camps out of town, like, all that kind of stuff. And then it's like, all right, we finally get back home. And he's like, all right, y'all got to go to this Game Plan Sports camp in Bowie. And he's like, man, we're not going. We're just chilling for the rest of the summer. We're not going. And so yeah, that was the second time I met Ed.
Like I said, we started in 1994 as a scouting service and basketball events company that had about 40 to 50 schools at the height of it, and doing what basically he does, evaluate players. This time just in a written form and getting the scouting services sent out to schools. And from there, like I said, it went to doing events, and the third part eventually came into training players. So we trained a lot of high school players, and then eventually my dad started training pro players. Octagon, which was really huge in basketball circles in the 80s and 90s. We're sending him as their clients like Robert Traylor, George Lynch, William Avery, a whole bunch of other guys that either he would get them ready for the draft or he'd get a new contract. Especially with George Lynch. I think George would even say he extended his NBA career probably 4 or 5 years just off of being able to now knock down open shots and make free throws. Because he was always a tough defender and rebounder. But adding that a little bit to his game extended his career a little bit longer. And then and then also had one guy who was a real hard worker was God Shamgod, and really it was starting to turn the corner when whatever happened with the Wizards happened. Again, Shamgar really couldn't shoot the ball, but became a much better shooter. And I think if the unfortunate thing that happened with the Wizards didn't happen, we would have saw a lengthier career from Shamgar. And that's how that part of the training aspect happened. And from there we went on and trained Chris Wright, Austin Freeman. Also had Lewis Hennett, and just real guys who really wanted to work on their game and come and practice, and they believed in us and what we were telling them. And then Marcus Derrickson, so a few people who would go on to have real successful college and a little bit of pro careers. And that's the game plan sports part.
That was the third time I met Ed.
Yeah, that was actually the third.
That was
the
third time I met
basketball
Ed.
game.
The second time I met Ed was when we played Towson Catholic.
Yeah.
At Gwynn Park. So Ed was obviously there watching Melo, checking out Melo. So, we Melo them down to the. It was a last second shot. They beat us on. We missed the last second shot. My 10th grade year. No, it was junior year or 10th grade.
11th grade.
So I'm feeling like I played pretty well. Like people saying this dude Carmelo, like he's number one in the country as a junior. I remember the game. Like he had like 31. I think I had 27 or 28, and I'm feeling pretty good about myself. And he was just like, yeah, this kid, you could be all right, but you're too skinny, you're too weak, this, that, and the third. And like basically I wasn't good enough yet, like you could be good, but you're not good enough yet. And that's just how it was. Like he was just gonna shoot it to you straight. And this was like I remember them from as a kid, and then 10th, 11th grade, this happened. He said this like cool, but wasn't good enough. And then, that summer into the camp, and then, like Derek said, that's how that story went. 11th grade. So I would say this. We also had a head coach, Steve Matthews, who, like, he relished those moments. Like, if he could have something to be like, see, you're not working hard enough, like, he would use that. So, he came and told me, like, this, that, and the third, like, you think you good? And I didn't have no offers or nothing at that point. So, is this kid like Melo, who's obviously this, that, and the third. And, at the time, Ed was working for Nike. So if he's saying I'm not good enough, then I got to go do something else. Like it's something, I got to go figure out. Like, I mean, it's a Nike rep. Like whatever he say at the, how it used to be back in those days, what he said at the time was like, so I just got to go work. It wasn't nobody being my feelings about this is my opportunity. And it didn't go how I wanted to, even though I felt I played well. So I got to get better. Like what I thought was good, it wasn't good enough.
We finally end up going in this camp. And like Bird is saying, we knew who Ed was, but we really didn't know like who he was. Like we was totally clueless. We didn't know nothing about no AAU basketball. We didn't know nothing about his background, who he was, nothing. So anyway, we go into camp. We still don't know Ed. Ed's quiet, he sits back, if you've been around him, he'll come in the gym, he'll watch, he won't say nothing to you, but he sees everything. He knows what's going on. So anyway, by the end of the camp was over, like me and Bird, we did pretty good at the camp. It was a lot of individual like competitions that we won. We got trophies and everything. So when the camp was over, I remember Ed kind of came to this is really my first time like talking to him. He came up to me. He was like, yeah, I seen you play before. You think you can score, you think you hot shit. Like Ed a cuss at you. He was like he cuss at you. He's like, Ed has a way of like bringing you down, but at the same time, it's like it'll pump you up at the same way. You know what I'm saying? Like he'll totally like, some people would think he like disrespecting you, but he's really not. He was like, you think you hot shit, you did pretty good. I like what you're doing, but I think we can get better. We can do a lot of things better. So him saying this, I'm like Bird saying, this is my first time talking. So I'm like, oh, like, okay, like, where's this going? And then I don't want to jump too far, but at the end of the camp, like, it was good. So he was like, you guys kind of want to come back and like do some individual workout stuff with him. So once again, I'm like, individual workout. This is not the times that it is today. I've never heard of an individual workout in my life. What is that? What are you supposed to do in that? But once again, out here, Coach Steve Matthews like, yeah, they'll be here. So I don't want to jump too far. I'll let Bird jump in and talk about some of his camp stuff. But that was really my first time, like, talking to Ed. He like cussed me out, didn't know really who he was. And he kind of like boosted me up a little bit, but at the same time, he'll let you know, straight shooter about your game. So that was really my first like words with Coach Ed.
Yeah. And I remember when we first like walked in, like we going in. Like we gotta go in, you know what I'm saying? We're going in. And to be like he said, he can humble you as like he can boost you up. So I remember like walking in the door and you gotta register. You remember the little round thing at the front?
Yeah, at the front. Uh-huh.
And Ed goes, I mean, I don't know who's gonna watch this, but
you're all uncut.
He goes, which scout report you motherfuckers on? What scout report on you?
Yeah, he did.
Like that, right? So, and we all sitting there like, I mean, again, like I said, at this time, I ain't had no offers, like none of us did, and I'm damn, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, why we sitting out here acting like we can't come in?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he's like, yeah, what scout report one of y'all on? And like, we couldn't, so, and then it was even tough because not tough, but when we walked in, the competition wasn't that great. It was like my team plays your team in the championship. You know what I mean? Like, we were the best two players there, and we already knew each other. We've been playing together since middle school. So, it was just like, it was like practice. We were, competing against him. Oh, okay, he got 30. I got to try to get, something close to that. That's just how it was in camp. But like he said, the individual side of things and like attacking the game individually, like, the workouts and stuff like that. We played. Like, we would play. That's what we did. We wake up and play. Like, we ride over here. We go to the run and shoot. We play outside over here. It didn't matter. That's what we did, like, just all the time. So, but we wasn't really that hip to the individual workouts. And like you said, AAU.
No idea.
All this other stuff.
I'm still realizing, truthfully, like, I don't know if Burr wasn't around too much, but truthfully, from 2001 to probably like 2005, I was with Ed every day in the summer, Monday through Friday, because I would work out. And then sooner or later, I think Ed took a liking to us. I started working basketball camps for Ed. He would have like these basketball camps and NBA pros would stop by. I'm like, I'm looking around, I'm like, who is Ed? You know what I mean? And I'm spending a lot of time with him. It was dude from the Wizards, Richard Hamilton. I worked this Richard Hamilton basketball camp. Ed probably had every good 7th and 8th grader in the DC area in this camp. I'm like, he had basically every kid that went to the MAP that was in this camp. It was kids like Jeff Allen, Nigel Munson. I'm like, Ed, like, who is this guy? Like, this guy. And like I said, this is probably like my 3rd summer, like, with Ed. So I'm the type of kid, I never question no adult or ask like who you are or ask those type of questions. Like, if he told me kind of to do something, I would do it. But being around him, I would start seeing like he was connected. Everything we would start to do, I had like Nike gear, unlimited Nike gear. He would just give me stuff, book bags and stuff. I'm like, how do I like get all this? Like, who is this guy? Like, so sooner or later, I started talking to him, and he kind of like breaks down his background. He's like, yeah, I was a Nike grad. I was a basketball coach for a long time. And then I'm seeing like all these people respect him. I'm like, shit, this dude is like a big deal. And like I said, I'm with him every day. I would go to his house, me and our other friend, Gino. We would drive out Bowie, go to Ed's house. He would give me the keys to his car. He like, you drive, and he'll get in the passenger seat. This Ed funny. He goes to sleep Anyway, goes to sleep. He's like, drive here. We drive all the way out. Like I said, I worked this Richard Hamilton basketball camp for him. I worked Pro City for Ed. I worked all these game plan stuff for Ed. Like I said, I was with him Monday through Friday for probably like four summers straight, easy. And I started to see like this dude is like, he's like legit super connected in the area and nationally too. So that's when I started to realize working for him during the summer. And this was after I'd done countless individual drills with him, stuff like that. And then there was another little moment with me that would open my eyes up to him. Ed would have all the, like I said, top young kids. Like me and Bird would be in the workout. He'd have Austin Freeman to be in the workout. Chris Wright would be in the workout. These dudes was little kids, but they was nice. We was like, who are these dudes? Like these little dudes was nice. But like I said, we was kind of leading the individual workouts for them. This was when we was probably like 12th grade. And then when we started to get in college, I was like, oh, that's Austin Freeman. Like I said, we still don't know nothing about basketball. Like, oh, this kid's going to Georgetown. You know what I'm saying? He would come back for a workout with Ed. He would work out with us. He's like, oh, like, okay, this dude is like official. So I let Bird piggyback. I know he remember a bunch more of those stories like that.
When I realized, I know you remember this story. When I realized that Ed was a big deal, like I had been doing the workouts. I mean, we done Kennel League. We had done everything we were supposed to do. Like I said, we used to always go to team camps, out of town, all that kind of stuff. So, we're a real close-knit group. Like my friends to this day are my teammates from Gwynn Park. Like that's just how it is. My closest friends. And so we getting ready to go to this Clemson basketball camp.
Oh yeah, that is a good point. It
is official. Like bags are packed. Like tomorrow morning we leaving. At this time, one of our other friends who also played at Gwynn Park, Sherrod Ford, was at Clemson. So we all hyped up, like about to go down here. Not only are we about to see our man who's in college, which is a big deal to us. Like maybe we could, we know the assistant coaches. Not long story short, but like a thing that's hidden that I don't even know if this was a violation at the time or not. And I was at Sherrod's visit. Like we were there. You know what I'm saying? So like we know all the coaches. We know everybody. We thinking we going up here play our way into a situation.
Mm-hmm.
So like I said, we hyped up tomorrow. We got to be at the bus early. We riding down South Carolina. We going to Clemson camp. I get the call saying, "You're not going." Wait, what? Like, what you mean? Nah, I'm going with my team. Like, all my boys is going to Clemson. Like, I'm going. Like, they like, no, you're going to NBA camp. This time I'm like, what is NBA camp? Why am I going? Like, forget that. I'm trying to go with the team. Like, and this is just having people who know more than you. Because if they would have left it up to me, I was going to Clemson, like with the team. You know what I mean? But the fact that, and this is another thing, NBA camp had already started. Like, the session had already been like a day or two in. So all the invites is there. How Ed got me in NBA camp, I have no idea. I just know he called me, no, you're not going. You need to be at American University at first thing in the morning tomorrow, which was, obviously in DC. I'm not going. I'm blown, sad, but I packed my stuff up, 3-4 days. I ride up to American U, and that was huge. Like, that was everything changed from that point for me.
And another kid that we put in almost kind of the day after it started, and he made a huge name for himself. Lewis Hennon. He was at our camp. We actually had a camp. It kind of ran simultaneous with the NBPA camp right here in Bowie. And a kid dropped out, and he said he wanted to go home, so they needed a player. And my dad asked me, do you think Lewis can fit in? I was like, oh yeah, of course. And so the next day, that night, he called Lewis and said, hey, I need to come pick you up early. I'm going to take you to D.C. and you're going to get into the NBPA camp. And from there, he had, 5, 6, 7 major offers, because he ended up, the team he got with, they ended up going undefeated and won the whole camp. And he was the leader, the ball handler, the point guard.
Like Bird was saying, like, yeah, I remember Bird was at my house that night. We was outside. He got that call, and like I said, it's Ed. We still really didn't know who he was, so Bird, we contemplating, like, Bird, we really having a conversation. Me and him, we had like no adults around. He like, should I go to Clemson with y'all? Should I go? I was like, nah, I think you need to go to this NBA camp. So anyway, Bird goes to the NBA camp. We go down to Clemson. We have a good time. We play good. Bird wasn't there, but anyway, so back then we really didn't have no text messages and all that. So when I finally talked to Bird was like, man, this camp official. He started naming. Truthfully, we didn't know who some of these players was, because like I said, we didn't know about rankings and all that type of stuff. Bird was like, yeah, man, like people like Rashad McCants, all the good people in 2002 was at this camp. And Bird was like, yeah, man, I played kind of good. I think the team won the championship. So I'm like, oh, damn, that was an all right look. But like I said, the Clemson camp was cool, and I was telling Bird, I was like, man, I think we was really having a conversation like out in the street, like, I'm not going to this NBA camp, I'm going to Clemson. I'm like, nah, I think you need to go. So when I talked to Bird, he basically said it worked out for him. So that was another moment. He was like, this dude Ed is like an official dude. So yeah, that's how that one went.
Yeah, and like you said, like all this stuff happened because Derek lived in Cheltenham, up in Marlboro. So. And I live way in Oxon Hill, so again, 90% of my life from 7th grade to 12th grade was spent with Derek. So, in order for us to get the buoy every day, I would stay at his house. So, and again, Gwen Park was really close. So again, my bags was packed, and I'm about to stay the night at Derek's house so we can go to the bus in the morning. When I get the call. So again, like I said, I'm upset, but when I get to American University, again, this is all this is new. Like I said, we wasn't even knowing about workouts yet, let alone I'm walking into this situation 2 days in, like these dudes already done got acclimated to each other, all this kind of stuff. And when I get there, I still have no idea what is like when I get there, like they give me, I've got to fill out my paperwork and stuff. Ed meets me there, and it's like NBA top 100. Now, politically, at this point, you got to remember, Ed just told me, you ain't even on nobody's scouting report.
Fact.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, I ain't no dummy. Like, I'm not one of these dummies out here. Like, I know I'm not top 100. Like, what is going on here? Like, but there was some, like, people that, like, I saw and I knew who they were, like Rashad McCants, Sebastian Telfair. At the time, Evan Burns was the top player at that time from California. He was actually Craig Smith, my college teammate's high school teammate. So I get in there, and Ed give me a little pep talk of like, basically, look, you're a Big East guard. Like, I remember this day like nobody has ever put it to me this way. It was like, he told me all the stuff I do well, like 6'4", you athletic, you're a Big East guard. You need to go out there and act like it. Like, that's what he told me, like, before my first game, all this type of stuff. Again, it was a shocker to me. Like, I'm just walking in wide-eyed. I'm a public school kid from PG County. Like, I didn't even play AAU really up until this point. You know what I'm saying? So I walk in here, like I said, I'm starting to see, man, the first day I get in there, Hugh B. Brown's doing the lecture. He cursed Sheldon Williams out, like, cursed. I'm like, oh my God, like, what did I just walk into? So I go out there, and I remember it was a kid named Taquan Dane. Derek, I know you remember Taquan Dane. He was a bucket. He was on my team. And we didn't even have a loaded team. Marshall Strickland was on my team. He's from Maryland. Marshall Strickland was nice. We also had a kid from Baltimore. I forget his name. I feel like his last name was like Cowan or something like that. He was like a full man. So we had a couple locals. And like first game I played well, but I remember we won and I missed some free throws at the end of the game, but we still won the game. So it cussed me out. Like get cursed out. Like, and I'm thinking like, first game I came out, I did my thing, like we won, but boom, it cursed me out for missing the free throws at the end of the game. That like, it was like one game that, maybe could have took the lead from 3 to 4 and the game was definitely over, but it kept it at 3 and they had a chance for the last shot. It was like one of those situations. So he curses me out. The rest of the camp, like, I'm going crazy. Like, I'm not going crazy in the scoring sense, but like, I'm everywhere. Like, I'm defending 94 feet. I'm breaking people down, just doing how I play. Like, I'm getting people involved, and we are winning. And we're not supposed to be winning. Like I said, Evan Burns, number one player in the country at the time. Sebastian Telfair, straight out of high school. It was also a kid, Kalina Azubuike, who ended up going to Kentucky, but he tried to come out straight out of high school. Like I said, it's top 100 camp. And we just had me, Marshall Strickland, who wasn't, on that level as those guys, but he was really good. Like I said, a kid from Baltimore, and we won the whole thing. And Taquan Dane, who was a bucket at the time. I remember that. Like, he was a bucket on our team. We won the whole thing, and from that point, everything changed to all the write-ups was like Big East point guard, he's a Big East guard, he's a Big East guard. And all that started from, like I said, Ed pulling whatever string he had to pull and got me in the top 100 camp when it was already started.
Well, I could say this. Now how you said like the business stuff, like I got a son now, and I'm sure I can tell him, like, if you go to the gym, you shoot these, you make shots, yada, 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 it will translate. And Bird can do the same as a coach and all that stuff. So back then, I still didn't know what we was doing. And Bird could probably vouch for this too. As in, we would do all these drills. And Ed Meyers workout doesn't have a time limit. You can be in here an hour. If you make your shots and stuff, you could be out of there quick. But if you missing, it's a long day. And Ed was never about getting up shots. It was always makes. Like, you have to make the shot to advance to the next part of the workout. If you're not making shots, you'll be there all day. And he broke the game down for me so crazy. And like I said, Ed will humble you. Like, when I walked in there, one of my second workouts, like I said, he seen me play. He was like, you like to get to the rim or shoot threes. You don't do nothing in between. He was like, I don't even know how you get to the hole because you slow-footed as hell. So this is what you need to work on. He was like, because you play it slow. I don't know how you get in the scoring. Like, he would just be straight up with you. So he was like, you need to start working on your mid-range. You need to work on catching the ball, getting it on your laces, and have 6 to 7 rotations before the ball go in. So I'm like, what? He says this to me. I thought he just spoke Spanish. I'm like, huh? So he's like, listen, dumbass. This I had always said. He's like, you see these laces on this ball? He was like, when you catch it, you need to line it up on the fingertips. He was like, they there for a fucking reason, so I can cuss. So I'm like, huh? So he's showing me how you pass the ball to me, because like I said, he said it took me a long time, slow to get my shot off. So he like broke my shot down. This is like one of the first second workouts, passed it to me, and he showed me how to get it on the laces while I'm going up in my shot. And I know some people out there probably like, oh, that's easy, but I never heard none of this stuff before. So when he broke that down for me and started shooting, man, it made my shot and stuff so good. So like I said, these individual workouts, we didn't know what we was doing. We didn't know this would help. But like when it came around, it translated. This way I go in the park. We did all these workouts during the summer. Like playing in the game. I remember we had like a scrimmage in the preseason. Like I always thought I could score. I had confidence. But the game, man, was so easy. Like what Ed was saying, he used to say, if you can't score in 3 dribbles, you need to pass the motherfucking ball. You're not no scorer. I always remember that Ed. He was like 3 dribbles. And if you can make three threes in the game, you a shooter. If you can't make three straight threes in the game, you're not good. So them little things stuck out with me and all the time. And like I said, free throws was a big one with Ed in the workout. You had to end his workout with like 5 swishes. Nobody's never told me, shoot this ball, don't let it touch the rim. I'm like, what? He's like, you can't hit the rim or you're going to be there, man. Sometimes I would be shooting free throws probably 45 minutes. You got to end on all that stuff. So stuff like that going in my mind. I'm like, what is this? What is this stuff? So translating to Gwen Park, man, I'm in my first scrimmage. It was just like, came out there, it was like, boom, 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 3 dribbles, pull up, buckets, like catch and shoot, bam, like knocking the stuff down. So it just started translating, but I didn't know with the stuff with Ed, that's what it was in the game, and he just built his confidence in you, and it just translated well into the game from those individual workouts. Once again, like I said, I did not know what we was doing it for. You tell me go run through the wall, all right, I run through the wall. You tell me this how I need to shoot, all right, I got it, okay, whatever. And I ain't had it wasn't no parents in my head. It was like, nah, he teaching me wrong, I'll coach, none of that. We was like clean. I think maybe that's now I'm saying that that's why Ed liked us. We didn't have nobody like, so what he said, we was fresh. So he could just build us the way we wanted. And like I said, it translated for me personally in my senior year. Like, man, I was making a lot of shots at like a good field goal percentage. It wasn't like I was jacking. Like, I probably ended up averaging like 23 points in PG County. You made all first team, a lot of stuff in PG County. And that was because of Ed. That was facts. That was straight Ed, truthfully. I can give all that to him. I didn't know what was going on, but that's how I translated in the game from him. So that's what I can say for me personally.
I knew you was gonna hit on the like the 6-7 rotations.
Yeah, the 6-7 rotations.
3, like being able to make 3 in a row in the game. Because I remember, like, of all the stuff that like Ed had talked about, like Dirk was a much better shooter than I was. So even the fact that he would break our games down differently, like for me, like as a point guard, he would tell me like how he's telling Derek, he's teaching Derek like how to go up with the laces and get it right. Derek's a scorer. As a point guard, he used to tell me, if you don't have time to lace it up, don't shoot it. Like y'all two totally different people. Like if you got to take some type of shot and you don't got time to lace it up, you shouldn't be shooting. You know what I mean? But I remember when Dirk like start focusing on the 6-7 rotations in the 3 makes, and I was like, oh, he is fixated on this 6-7 rotation thing.
Yes.
And like be like, we go
1, 2, 3, 4,
like,
5.
like, no, he would like really shoot, and I'm like, I'm just shooting. Like I'm just shooting. And again, that's why he was a better shooter than I was. But he was like, his mind would not get rid of this 6-7 rotation thing, and he needed to make 3 threes in a row at some point in the game. You know what I'm saying? To be considered a good shooter. So again, it's just a mentality change, right? If he's coming in the game like, I gotta make 3 in a row. Well, guess how many times he made 2 in a row and missed? And then and he made 2, and you know what I'm saying? And you look at the stat sheet and like, well,
that's cooking.
It's still a hell of a night. You know what I'm saying? But you know, he's trying to get 3 in a row, and that came from Ed. Like, this is what it takes to be a good shooter. You know what I'm saying? And then, like I said, long before, I would say even before preseason the season got there. Remember, the summer then turned into fall workouts with Ed. Like,
oh yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't know what other schools were doing, but we were literally doing the bell rings, cross country, then team open gym, and then drive to Bowie to work out with Ed.
Right.
At night. You know what I'm saying? And then I'm hopping on 50 to get back to Oxon Hill, and Derek going back up 301 to Cheltenham. Like, that was the schedule. Cross country, work out with your team, individual Ed at night. You know, and by I would say, and we always say this, we talk about it, that particular year, conditioning wise and explosion wise, and like we was on a whole different level than the rest of the county. Like, you can see, like, we as it got late in the game, like, we had a whole lot of moments. This isn't like this one game where we just look at each other like, you ready? All right, let's go. And then a 4-point lead turns into 16, like that. Just because we just had, like, we were conditioned and mentally, like, we felt we put in more work than the other teams we faced. And that's because we had no choice. Like Derek said, like, it wasn't no parents. Like, by senior year, I had a car too, but Derek had a car. So we didn't have to, like, get parents involved. You know, my mother knew Ed and Coach Matthews. Derek's mother knew Ed and Coach Matthews. They knew where we was at. You know,
that was the end of it. Yeah,
that was the end of it. Like, it wasn't nobody saying he got to be this or he needs to be a point guard or he got to score more or, like, they working out, they got him, you know, they good. For me, again, I think that same fall. This is fall of 2001. We doing cross country. Derek, I don't know if you remember this, but so we doing cross country, but at the time I was in driving school. So I'm allowed to do, I could do cross country, but then driving school, y'all remember like driving school was like around 536, you know, something like that. So I was going to cross country, and then when they could go work out with the team, I had to go to driving school. And this is for 2 weeks, right? Like, which is a lot of, like, for me, like, I'm pissed off. Like, that's a long time of not being able to, like, go to open gym and stuff like that. But I'm still, I do that, but I still ride the buoy to do my stuff with Ed. But I'm missing the pickup games and all this type of stuff. So Charlie Weber comes. Like, Charlie was in the fall of Maryland, of
our senior year.
October of our senior year.
Yeah, like October.
2001. Now, I want to say part of it was, you know, me just working out with Ed, but part of it too was I didn't play 5-on-5 in 2 weeks. And when we got to Charlie Weber, I would probably say that was hands down the best weekend of basketball I've played. Like, throughout my high school career. Like, I went crazy at Charlie Weber. And that's when recruiting started to really change. And, like, I had some options. Like, early on, you know, I had, you know, some Wagners and some stuff like that. Like, where, you know, you feel like I need to make a decision before I don't have these offers. You know what I mean? You start feeling like that. And then after Charlie Weber, it was like, oh, wait a minute. Like,
Can I cut you off?
Go ahead.
Just to let Cordell know, we didn't play AAU. So I just wanted to let you know. So we going to Charlie Weber. We beat everybody from around here. It was DC Assault, Blue Devils. And then we made it to, we played Boo Williams. And I don't want to name drop or anything, but they was loaded. They had they had JJ Redick. They had Jared Jack. They had big dude from O'Connell Johnson that was supposed to go straight to
Brian
the NBA.
Johnson.
Brian Johnson.
Darian Towns, who went to Georgetown.
Man, Bird goes crazy in this game. Like, crazy. Like, comes down the lane, like, breaks Jared Jack down, comes down, like, from the data and just bangs on Brian Johnson. Like, if this was, like, on a ball, like, hoop mixtape or something, this dunk would have been on it. Like, everybody in the gym just, like, stood up, like, ran on the court. I'm like, damn. Like, we beat these dudes. I played good. Bird played good. We made it all the way to the championship in Charlie Weber. We had 7 people on our AAU team. And we probably
all PG County public school.
All PG County dudes. And we made it all the way to the championship in Charlie Weber. So people were like, who the hell is these people? But like you were saying earlier, it's funny you brought up Raymond Felton. Because that's who we played in the championship. Yep. And he was nice. Yeah. He was like 6 foot, but he was like the center on their team, which was like weird. So it made like mismatch problems. He jump ball, super bounce, and kind of like he got his man on us. And they end up beating us, but people was like, who are these dudes? Like, they just made it to the championship in like a good AAU joint. So I would say Bird had a lot of buzz. He had some good write-ups coming from that weekend because he beat a lot of good D1 professional guards. So that was a good turning point to bring that little story up.
Yeah. Yep. And like you said, like we, you know, this is the name of that team. Me, you, Chris Prince from Oxon Hill, Jeremy Bruce from Eleanor Roosevelt, Sterling Ledbetter, who from Maryland. Chris Prince went to Radford.
Shoot, and that was about it.
Yeah, I mean, but it was like I said, you know, I know this In the Water thing about to come out. Like, this was PG County Public School, and we ran through DC Assault. Like, we had to do all this to get there.
Yeah.
DC Assault, we beat the Blue Devils. We beat Sky's the Limit, who at the time was the up and coming, you know, they had
a good team.
And Stink, Cortez Davis, and all them dudes from down Dunbar and Baloo. Like, that's who they had on their team. And PG County Mob, who was together like that. It wasn't like we wore Kennel League jerseys. We didn't even have jerseys. You know what I'm saying? We didn't even have no jersey. They put us together, boom, and we ran. That's how crazy it was. We just ran through and we had a good chemistry. And like I said, that Charlie Weber, after Charlie Weber, everything changed for me. Like as far as recruiting wise, and like I said, that's when, like I said, things happened for me. So I'll let you go there.
But yeah, it's like Bird was saying, as far as like recruiting and stuff, I don't know if we jumping too far in the story, but for me, it's funny we talk about the parents, like Bird, truthfully. I remember it was sometimes when school started, we had like Miami in the gym, Boston College, George Mason. It was like some big time schools coming in. It was playing good and stuff. And I had probably, like Bird said at the time, my stuff, Bird was better basketball player, better stuff, fit for what he was doing. So I was kind of like piggybacking off of him. So I would have like some Wagner. I remember George Mason wanted us to come as a package deal. I don't know. This is funny we talking about this stuff. George Mason wanted me and Bird to come to their school as a package deal. Coastal Carolina, they wanted us to come. But like I said, like Bird, like kind of he outplayed all those schools and his level kind of went up. So it's funny. I don't know if I ever told Bird this. I always look back on it and I think like people kind of probably looked at me like, oh, I can't get Derek either. But truthfully, that was my level. Bird was a way higher level than me, but schools like that, the lower level schools, and I had like Buffalo and stuff like that. Some of those schools probably like, I don't know if I can get him. His guard mate just went Boston College, but I'm like, dang, yeah, that was a high jump for Bird. So it's funny we talking about the parents. So Bird signed early signing period, like before the even season even started. He was done, got out the way. People like, damn, he went to Boston College? That's big time. So for me, I still had recruits throughout the season. I had a good senior year. I think maybe our junior year we was a little bad. That may have messed me up a little bit. But anyway, when it came down to like scholarships at the end, like I said, my mom, we didn't have no money. So only way I was going to school was basketball. So at the time I had Shepherd in Buffalo. It's funny for my scholarships. In Buffalo, they wanted Calvin Cage. With Calvin Cage, he had some high schools. He was pretty high recruit too. So Buffalo was like, I remember they came to Gwynn Park. They was like, it's between you and Calvin. He was like, but Calvin had a bunch of other schools. So they was like, I'm gonna see what he does. So Calvin ended up committing to Buffalo. That was like a shocker. They was like, what? He went to Calvin when he went to Buffalo. So of course I didn't have that offer. And my mom was like, this was, nowadays it's 3 signing periods. Like Bird signed early. It was the second signing period. My mother was like, you need to go to school. I don't have no money for you to go to school. So I ended up signing the Shepherd, where I could have, if I waited and stayed late and knew the process like we've been talking about through this whole interview, I'm sure I could have went D1, but that's why I ended up Shepherd out of high school, because like my mom was like, if you going to school, this is it. Like I didn't have no big signing. I remember I cried. I signed on my kitchen table. I was like, I didn't want to go here, but that's why I ended up going for basketball. Because Mom Dukes is like, this where you going, because money and stuff and all that situation. So that's how that went.
And then this little dude who's like 5'7", you know what I'm saying?
Facts.
I mean, he's coming at you straight with the weaknesses in which you don't do well, and he's not afraid. Mm-hmm. He ain't afraid to say it out loud in front of other people. And so I think probably like I could definitely see him rubbing somebody the wrong way, and
definitely
they holding a grudge long term, or even some of these pros who like you can't come to Ed workout and be like, yeah, it was a long night last night. Like, I'm just trying to get a sweat. Like, that's not going to work. Like, I've seen guys do that in other workouts a lot. Like, yeah, we was out late last night. This summertime we was out and, I'm just here to get a sweat. Like, you either going to get kicked out or cussed out. Like, one of the two messing with Ed. So I could definitely see people like, oh, I'm not messing with that dude. Like, I've seen people, in our age bracket who came through not understanding what they was getting from Ed, and then once Ed started talking, they didn't come back.
Yeah.
I've seen that, like, from people out in our age. So I could definitely see people like, I ain't messing with that dude, like, because he's too real. He gonna give it to you. He's not gonna sugarcoat it.
Yeah, that's what I would say. He's, like I said, I seen him just say some stuff to people, and I'd be like, damn, like, it would be so honest and blunt, but it would be like the truth. And I think, truthfully, that could rub some people wrong. Like I said, like, once again, I know we keep going back to this, but, like, myself and Bird, we didn't really have too many people telling us stuff. So we didn't know if Ed was talking to us in a crazy way or not. It was just like, he'll cuss us out. Like, all right, that's what we got to do. So once again, I think that kind of like he gave it to us a lot, but we always kept coming back. And I think that's kind of why he like grew some respect for us. Like he'd cuss us out. And one of the main things Ed always used to say, he'd cuss you out. He'd be like, you gotta be better than the last time I saw you in this workout. Like you might be missing all these shots. He was like, but if your motherfucking ass come in here tomorrow and you missing these same shots, you got a problem. So if you, and some people that turn people away, it's like, oh man, I don't know if I want to go to this workout. Because like I said, his workouts are like, you got to make shots to unlock the next level. And if you're not making shots or doing something wrong, it's over. You might as well go and sit down with him. So I can see that kind of rubbing some people the wrong way. But if you can get through an Ed Meyers workout and listen to what you got to say, it'll take you a long way. You definitely helped me out with that type of stuff.
It's really, I think about that a lot. And, I think sometimes, in this profession that we're in, catching a break sometimes is beyond your resume. It's beyond your control. And I think in Coach's case, he obviously has helped so many players, reach their goals, change their lives. He never got that opportunity maybe that, he definitely deserved. And in terms of running his own program and really trying to, take his talents and build a team to a national title. But I will say this, and I think as I got older too, I look back at his, career. We all want to win games. He's had his share. I've won a lot of games personally myself. I've been blessed to be around a lot of good coaches. But in the end, your legacy and his legacy will be, the impact that he's left behind in changing a lot of kids and families' lives over the years. And I'm a testament to somebody that he's changed my life over the years, and I'm forever grateful to him.
That's a good question, and it's sad, but, sometimes, his due doesn't go because he got out before all the social media came around. I mean, if social media was around when he was coaching and recruiting, he'd be probably top of the list of guys that recruited some of the best. Think about it. Yinka Dare, Patrick Ewing, Earl Jones. I mean, he's had 3 Michael Britt, some of the best ever come out this area or come into this area, bringing them into this area out there. And he's probably a victim of not having social media because he is one of the best that ever do it. I mean, him and Wil Jones, when it came to recruiting and getting to learning from them, and Doc Robinson, you've learned from some of the best, especially from your hometown, and I just think if he was coming out now, he'd be top 5 every year, every year in recruiting. I mean, he was that thorough and that good of a recruiter when he was in the game. And the reason he probably didn't, other than the social media, you got to understand too, back then, it was different than now. See, coaches now, they classify recruiters when they're black. Back then, it wasn't like that. They wanted to say white guys were just as good, which wasn't true. I mean, I don't want to do a racial thing about it, but he, being a black man, he didn't get his due because probably half of it because of that as well.
Sometimes we get caught up in time. I think sometimes the people who we work for need to acknowledge us. He did a lot for a lot of great coaches. The late John Thompson, who cannot speak for him, of course. Mike Jarvis, everybody else that he's coached with and been around. I think it's sometimes up to those guys to preach and talk about who Coach Meyers is and has been for them, for the kids that they've served, and for everybody that he's come in contact with. So I think sometimes he doesn't get it because the people who he has helped has not put that out there for him. Me as a basketball, as a player, as a recruit of his, I said I'll talk about him to everyone. So I just think those guys that are in power need to do the same to help him get his notoriety and the fame that he should have right now. Well, he did it. He done it from his heart. He done it for, of course. I don't think he's been paid his just due financially, socially, anything. But one thing he did do, he gave a lot of kids an opportunity. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, given those other opportunities, I don't know if his legacy will be built within his players. I just wish sometimes that, like I say, some people would acknowledge what he has done, just because he's not going to do it. He's not going to say it. He's not going to just tell you about it. He's just going to continue to help. Now, you go to the Peace Jam and all those things that he has created, that's just who he is. That's just a ripple effect of who he is. Now he's still helping kids through something that he created years ago and really probably still not that involved with. That just shows who he is. Like, still to this day, I'll pick up the phone and call him from time to time. All of my other teammates do. So his legacy will always live on because there's love in it.
Because he's a no-nonsense guy, and people that's genuine like him, you can't give him the BS in this business that we do. He's gonna let you know what it's about, and he's gonna tell you about it. And people like him to have the truth sometimes. I think that hurts our race to this day. If they feel you, they're not gonna give you a chance. He's known as one of the great basketball minds in this country. No doubt about it. Excuse me. I mean, he touched a lot of lives. He got a lot of people that people don't have no idea he was involved in their life in some kind of formal way, pretty much, in business and in the sports world. I mean, he even at Georgetown, the young men right from Georgetown, he touched a lot of lives that people don't know, that they made a lot of money in this country. And he touched a lot of lives. Like I said, he's a great man, and he should be recognized for that in the basketball world. Like I said, it's sad, but that's just the world we in. I mean, it's sad to say that, but that's just the way it is, pretty much. I mean, because he should be on one of the Mount Rushmore of something in basketball. I would say that, no doubt about it. I mean, him, Wil Jones, and William Doc Robinson. Them three they was three elite individuals. I say that. And Eddie was the leader of both of them two guys. I mean, he was a great guy.
That's hard for me to say because he's done so much and touched so many lives, and I only know of half of the people. I mean, his legacy, he has a legacy outside of basketball. But in basketball, just being one of the innovators. I mean, think about it. He started, his vision was the Peach Jam. He started that. And people don't know that. I mean, he started that from zero. And Nike partnered with him and ran with it. But that was Ed Meyers' vision. I mean, in basketball, that's hard because he's just so special, and it's not one thing with him. His legacy can be from, just bringing inner city kids to the forefront. I mean, he's done a lot for us as inner city kids that may not have had the opportunity. Him and Coach Thompson brought kids from inner city to Georgetown before Georgetown really even accepted black athletes, and they brought a whole new thing up there. And not just that. I mean, he was at GW before that, UDC. His legacy is, he has to decide, I don't want to put the wrong thing on it. That's the thing, man.
Right.
He's such a giant in this sport that, we got to look at it as, he's touched the best. You think about it, he's touched the best. I mean, I was just with him in the spring at a high school game, and just to watch Patrick Ewing light up when he saw him, it's just, and then you think about it, a little guy like me, when he comes over to all my home games at Morgan, just the way he lights up when, he's involved, and I make sure he's involved all the time. But his legacy would be second to none, whatever it may be.
For me, I think he's like one of the gatekeepers, when you talk about the area and You know, definitely in my time, and I'm a witness or an example of like he could get things done. You know what I mean? You know, from like I said, from the NBA camp situations, from, you know, a kid like, you know, Derek and myself, like I'm not saying we weren't hurting for anything, but you know, not having AAU teams, sometimes, you know, you miss out on the gear and all that type of stuff. Man, it was never nothing to be like, hey, let me get them shoes in the back.
Yep.
I mean,
Give 'em
like,
to
he
you.
always had shoes in the back of his truck. Like, let me get them shoes, let me get them shorts. You know, like, you know, just stuff like that. Like anything basketball related. And to this day, like, I mean, I talk to Ed to this day, like he's, again, one of the gatekeepers of basketball in DMV, and I don't even want to limit him to that because he did so much, you know, from bringing, you know, Africans in and, you know, that whole wave of things. Like Ed's one of the pioneers of that, you know, you know, and not to stereotype anybody, but, you know, even bringing some of the quote unquote, you know, less cerebral players from the South, really like, but they huge and athletic and really like focusing on them and putting that time in with them and showing them the game, the basics, the fundamentals that they may not be getting where they from, and then ending up as a high major player. Like, that's it. You know, it's so normal now to see an African kid. Oh, you got this African kid. It's one at like every school now. The majority of those kids was coming over somehow, some on a reference or connection through it. So, I mean, that's even huge.
Yeah, and I'll take it even like further for me. Like, I agree with everything Barry said. Like, as far as the gatekeeper, like Ed, man, he got some of the best advice that I ever had. Like, until this day, I can remember in college, I was a junior in college, and you know, when you get a junior in college, you got to pick your major. So I was like, oh, I'm about to pick a major to make some money. I would pick something like computers, right? So I'm like, oh yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm about to make some money. So I called Ed. I was like, hold on, I'm gonna call Ed real quick. So I called Ed. I was like, hey, I gotta pick a major. So Ed always put it back on you. He's like, what you think? What you want to pick? So I was like, I think I want to do something with computers to make some make money. So Ed through the phone was like, what the fuck? Like, cuss me out. He was like, no. I was like, so he was like, what you mean? It's like, Derek, no disrespect. He said, you're not no computer guy. That's not you. He was like, you're dumbass. You've been with me for the past 4 years doing like basketball stuff, like sports management stuff. He was like, you need to get your degree in sports management. I'm like, huh? You can do that? So he was like, yeah, motherfucker. That's what you've been doing? You've been helping me run these camps, commissioners, all these leagues. Like, you've been doing this for the past. So like, he was like building me up. This is not even basketball. It is basketball, but like all the court stuff and some advice. So I'm like, what you think I should do? He's like, what you're going to do is, he's like, you're going to go see your academic advisor tomorrow and be like, you want to do kinesiology or sports management? So I'm like, okay. I'm like, what can I do with that? Like, I didn't know. He's like, motherfucker, are you listening to me? He's like, you just been doing all of this for the past 4 years. That's what I do. That's the type of stuff. You be around. He was like, you're good with kids. You work with kids. You're good with sports. You know how to do stuff. You can comprehend. He was like, and then you can get a job, you know, wrecking part. I was like, I didn't even know you can have a career. So truthfully, till this day, that's why I'm in the career I am. Sports management right now, sports coordinator. That's all Ed Meyers, man. So for me personally, super gatekeeper, man, helped me out a lot of stuff in life. So stuff like that, I hold Ed high, man. You can't tell me nothing about Ed. Bad.